Keir Starmer and his cabinet are hurling inflammatory words at Nigel Farage. But is this the leadership our nation needs? In this video, we dive into a fiery discussion between Reform UK's Zia Yusif and Sky News' Wilfred, breaking down the dangers of divisive rhetoric. Plus, we'll uncover a timeless leadership principle focusing on solutions, not division. Before we get into the details, if you love diving into political issues and enjoy hearing a principled take on them, then hit the like button, share this video, and subscribe to join the conversation. It will help our channel reach a wider audience.
I think what we have seen, though, over the last 48 hours is the most extraordinary, vindictive, vicious use of inflammatory language to demonize Nigel Farage, the man who Keir Starmer knows now he cannot beat at the ballot box, who has embarked on a campaign with his cabinet to incite violence against him. Keir Starmer is circling the drain. He knows that he can't beat Nigel at the ballot box. A Survation poll this week showed the majority of his own members want him replaced. There was another poll that said that he was literally the most unpopular Prime Minister on record. And how's he responded? He's called Nigel racist. He's called our supporters racist. We had 11 cabinet ministers on pretty much the same day use that exact language. The Deputy Prime Minister, in an extraordinary intervention, I've not seen anything like this in my lifetime in politics in this country. He said that Nigel flirted with Nazism, flirted with the Hitler Youth. And then you had the Home Secretary on the same day said that Nigel is, quote, worse than a racist. And the Prime Minister also used in his speech, he used language, he said, we need to, quote, go into battle. He called on his supporters to go into battle with, quote, the enemy, and said that Nigel and Reform represent a threat to everyone in this country. And using that language, he knows exactly what he's doing. And I want to share one last thing, very important information, which I thought long and hard about sharing. But I do think it's important that people know and the British public know. It was just 2 weeks ago that the authorities cut the size of Nigel's security by 75%. And it was, of course, 2 weeks ago, as people know, that we had the tragic assassination of Charlie Kirk, the most high-profile political assassination in recent memory. The Prime Minister knows exactly what he's doing. He knows he cannot beat Nigel at the ballot box. We've seen the most extraordinary campaign over 48 hours to demonize Nigel, and he is absolutely inciting violence against him.
The Prime Minister did say, whatever you might think it means, he did say he doesn't think your supporters are racist. I think the thing I'm going to pick up on actually is what you said at the end. And language is very important. And I think this week, more than ever, we're all focused on how important language is. Yeah. Inflammatory might be a legitimate word, but inciting violence, which is, you said a few times and you concluded with that thought,
yeah,
is encouraging others to commit an unlawful act of violence.
Yep.
He did not do that.
So in security circles, there's a concept called stochastic terrorism. This is well understood in security circles. I appreciate it's a bit of a technical, arcane term, so I'll try and explain it very briefly. It is where somebody uses a big megaphone to launch a very public demonization campaign using inflammatory language in pursuit of encouraging a random act of violence against the target. The fact that, and this is not one, errant comment at a fringe event at a conference, not even two errant comments. It is the Prime Minister with the biggest megaphone in the country across every major broadcaster, including this one, using the most inflammatory language possible, and then 11 of his cabinet members coming out and one-upping him on that. I will tell you this as someone who's a friend of Nigel's, and I thought long and hard about whether I should share that information about Nigel's security. And I want to be clear that donors have stepped in to ensure, thankfully, that Nigel is well protected, and so, Reform supports. And frankly, any right-thinking people in this country who think politics should be debated around the actual policies, we should be talking about issues and not using this kind of inflammatory, directly insightful language. I have stood next to Nigel as he's been attacked by masked lunatics from Antifa. I've seen them try to attack Nigel. I've seen them try to attack our supporters, our volunteers, our activists. That's why we're so appalled by this behaviour. The Prime Minister is supposed to be a human rights lawyer, should know far better than this. He knows he can't beat Nigel at the ballot box, so he's resorted to inflammatory vilification to incite violence against him.
Well, I mean, look, I can't speak for the government. I think on the point that he's saying you just said that he's intentionally trying to incite violence. I'm sure that they would say loud and clear. In fact, they have already that's not the case.
Well, if that's the case, he should come out and apologise for using that inflammatory language.
Well,
even when David Lammy accused Nigel of flirting with Nazism, he still couldn't bring it upon himself to actually apologise.
And I had a very clear conversation with Pat McFadden about the David Lammy comments. Every single other comment has been about a policy. And
With respect, Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, said that Nigel was worse than a racist. So with respect, I need to correct you on that. You just said every other comment has been about the policy. The Home Secretary, no less, said that Nigel is, quote, worse than a racist.
The government obviously would say that their intention here is to beat Nigel Farage at the ballot box. They're focusing on a policy that they argue is racist. And we're going to get to that policy after this final question on this, because I think it's important, even though we spoke about it on Monday. You concluded that last answer by saying he was intentionally inciting violence. Are you saying that, I've held the former science minister, Peter Kyle, to account when he tried to liken Nigel Farage to Jimmy Savile. It was a massive leap. Are you really coming on here to say you think the Prime Minister wants harm to come to Nigel Farage? Because language is important.
Nigel, well, let me be clear.
That's how your last answer concluded that.
So,
do you retract that, or do you stand by it?
Nigel is a close friend of mine. I think he's the future Prime Minister of this country. He's the bookmaker's favourite to be the next Prime Minister in this country, and he's well ahead in the polls. So the stakes are too high for me to mince my words. I think Keir Starmer knows that he cannot beat Nigel Farage at the ballot box. He cannot beat reform at the ballot box. And yes, I think that he has decided to embark on a campaign that is clearly, he knows, insightful of violence against him.
I think that sounds like an enormous leap to most people, but you didn't answer my question. Are you saying you think the Prime Minister wishes harm on Nigel Farage?
I think that he has embarked on a campaign of language specifically...
Please answer the question. Do you think the Prime Minister wishes harm on Nigel Farage? This is really important to clarify.
I think that he knows that he cannot beat him at the ballot box, so has decided to use this inflammatory language along with his cabinet to incite violence against him.
Politics should be a battle of ideas, grounded in facts, truth, and evidence, where leaders debate policies that best serve the nation and its people. It's about finding solutions that unite, not sowing division through personal attacks. A bit of light-hearted banter or name-calling can add humor to serious discussions, and that's fine in moderation. But when leaders cross the line using inflammatory labels like fascist, racist, or Nazi, it risks demonizing opponents. These words, even if unintended, can inspire harmful actions like inciting a lone wolf to attack a political rival. This kind of rhetoric divides rather than solves. As a leader, your greatest strength lies in your policies. Strong, well-crafted policies are your sharpest weapon to outshine opponents and your greatest asset to inspire supporters. Focus on solutions that address real challenges and uplift the nation. If your policies aren't working, if they're falling flat or harming the people, be honest, adapt, and pivot to better solutions. Doubling down on blame or name-calling only deepens division and distracts from the real work of governing. The people see through empty rhetoric. They want leaders who prioritize their needs with policies that improve their lives. When you focus on solutions, speak honestly, or avoid talking down to or gaslighting the public, you build trust. Put the people first, and they'll stand with you. Let's promote leadership that focuses on solutions, not division. Share your ideas in the comments on how we can inspire meaningful and productive political dialogue. If you have benefited in any way from this video, please subscribe, like, share, and be sure to leave us a comment.